Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Audemars Piguet 1159 Perpetual calendar in white gold with an Aventurine Dial reference 26394BC.OO.D027KB.01. I'll tell you a little bit about the history of the code 1159, then tell you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar codes, then tell you about the case, bezel, dial, bracelet movement, finally try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start with the history. The history is not very long at all. The code 1159 came or was released in approximately 2017 or 2018. That only makes it about 6-7 years old, and it stemmed from AP cutting all their other collections. Now they had AP has its longest standing collection, which is the Royal Oak, and their most famous one. Then they have the Offshore, and then they have the Concept. Now all of those are Royal Oaks in that they all have that octagonal bezel, so they all fall under that category of Royal Oak, just with a little subdivision, be it Offshore or Concept. And AP got rid of their other collection, which was the Millenary collection, and they just started getting rid of their jewels, Audemars, basically everything that did not sell. This should be very honest, those watches, while they're very beautiful, for whatever reason, they didn't sell. Could have been marketing, could have been whatever, but they didn't sell, or they didn't sell well. So they got rid of it, which makes sense. You cut what doesn't make sense and you continue with what does make sense. And so they did that. But in the cutting of all those, for example, Jules Audemars, which was circular watch, they ended up with no circular watch. So they actually, and 85% of the watches in the world are circular watches. So they actually had a lineup with literally no circular watches. Now, AP needs to have a watch for every person, or at least most their customers. So they had to create a circular watch, and they came up with the code 1159. I'll tell you about how this one ties in when I start talking about the details of it. But suffice it to say, they basically knocked it out of the park and killed it with this code 1159. Not surprising from one of the best brands in the world, maybe even the best. And they came up with the code 1159. All right, so that's a little bit about the history. And at first, by the way, I'll say it was not well received. In fact, it was ill received. But AP, like any other smart company, came back and revised and redid their watch so that it would be well received, and they made improvements upon it such that now it's a very well liked watch and does very well for the brand actually. Okay, let's start talking about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar Royal Oaks. Now the Royal Oak can be basically broken down into two sizes for men's and women's. For men is basically all size 41, so that's one thing. From there, you choose which complication you want to have. Do you want to have the most basic, which is time and date, or a chronograph, or a tourbillon, or a minute repeater, or they even make grand complications or tourbillon chronographs. They make all sorts of crazy variations. So the most basic is the time and date only, and then the chronograph. And then they also make, which is what you're looking at in front of you, the Perpetual calendar. Okay, so the Perpetual calendar there means exactly what it sounds like. The calendar can go on forever, and you don't ever have to reset it. So for perpetual calendars, they have it in white gold and rose gold, and what you're looking at here is the white gold version. So let's start talking about the watch itself, starting with the case. Now, what makes the code the way it is? Well, the case. The case, at first, if you look at it straight on, it just looks like a circular watch. But when you start to turn it on its side, you realize, wow, this is not an ordinary watch. It's very, very special in that the case design has hollowed, scalloped lugs, and it also has a mid case, the case that holds the movement, that is not completely circular. It has edges to it, much like a Royal Oak. So it maintained some of that DNA while still being its own watch. And that to me is very special. In fact, I think is one of the best case designs of any circular watch, even rivaling that of Patek Philippe. And so they do a really great job on this case. Just the beveled edge of the case with the lugs, high polished beveled edge, and even the mid case, which alternates between satin finish and high polish to really give the side of the case some depth and something really to look at. And all the meanwhile, they were able to keep the thickness down of the Perpetual calendar to only 10.9 millimeters, which, by the way, is the same thickness as their time and date only. So they managed to pack in all this information, which is a Perpetual calendar, and, by the way, a moon phase, and still keep the thickness the same. It was really quite incredible, if you ask me. Okay, now let's start talking about the dial. Now the dial in white gold, they only give you one option here, and the dial is an Aventurine Dial, which is quite a special dial. It recalls a starlit night. Wow. So it's kind of like looking up into space, and I like that. It's kind of like when they say perpetual, it evokes this idea of the galaxies, looking up into space where it's endless. And what a nice way to put a blue dial. Instead of just putting a blue dial, they made it look like a sky, a night sky. In fact, when you add the moon to it, it really looks like you're looking up into the sky. It's just a beautifully done dial. It's one of the best dials on the market. And by the way, the picture, Patek Philippe, when they do this moon, they actually do a really lame moon. They just put literally a circle, and that's it. But AP, they actually put a picture of the moon. So the moon actually looks like the moon, as opposed to its competitor Patek is just literally a circle. So let's talk about it. Since we're talking about the dial, let's talk about what these parts actually do. On the right subdial, you see a 1 to 31. That's the date. Whatever it is, 1 through 31, and that goes around obviously once every one time a month. Now, what is special about a calendar watch is that for each month, if you look here at the 12 o'clock subdial, you'll notice that there's a long hand and a short hand. The long hand points to the month, so January through December, and in the annual calendar, the watch is able to determine on what month. For example, January, there's 31 days in January, so it can do 31 days. And then in February, it can do either 28 or 29 days on February. And then on March, it can do, each month it knows the number of days. But what is special about a Perpetual calendar, you see this small hand at the 12 o'clock, or at the 12 o'clock subdial. It has a 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, every fourth year there's a leap year, so you'll have 29 days and or 28 days, and that will be signified in by that shorthand. So 1, 2, 3 are regular years. The fourth year is the leap year. That's why they put L for leap. So that means that year, when it gets to 28, on February, it'll automatically jump to the 1st on March 1st, as opposed to go to 29. A really quite genius way to do it, and so that's why this is a Perpetual calendar. And then, of course, the date is on the 9 o'clock subdial, which is Monday through Friday, or Monday through Sunday, sorry. And then at the bottom, they even done a very nice touch to it and put the moon. Like I said, an actual picture of the moon. So it's a watch that tells you a lot of information. Information that a lot of us forget, and it also tells you the time. So there you have it. Okay, let's move on to the bracelet. Now the bezel. I tell you about the bezel, but there is not much to say about the bezel, in that the bezel is no bezel. They do the glass all the way to the very end. And I actually heard an interview by the CEO, not the current one, but the previous, I forgot his name, but he said the reason they do this edge, the watch to the edge, is that, for example, cell phones are done to the edge, so they maximize the screen of the watch and makes it appear a little bit bigger, and it just maximize it. It looks very modern. And I should actually also say that the sapphire is also quite special. Actually, it's a double curved sapphire, in that the reason it's double curved is that you can turn the watch at angles and still read the dial. I don't know if you know this, but on ones that don't have that curve, it sort of distorts the light, or distorts you looking through it, because the glass is flat and you have turned it at an angle. You can actually make it so that you cannot see your watch. But they've put a double curved glass so that you can always see it. It just really looks and is luxurious and fantastic. Okay, let's move on to the strap. Now the strap here is it looks like a canvas strap, but it's actually a blue rubber coated strap. That means that can go in water, which is a good thing. But what else is special about this? This watch has a white gold buckle. It's not like on the cheaper versions, which is just a pin buckle. It actually has a deployant buckle, which is much more luxurious and beautiful and, well, luxurious. Okay, so that is let's talk about the movement here. Now the movement is using the new movement. What is special about this one is a caliber 5134, and it's the latest, newest movement for the Perpetual calendar. Very beautiful movement. As you can see, it has the AP rotor on the back. And they were able to pack in all these parts, 374, actually even more than the chronograph, which is like 250 parts. But they were able to do so and keep the thickness down of the watch at only 10.9. Whereas the chronograph only has 250 parts and is at 12.4 millimeters. So interestingly, you already put more parts and make it thinner. Wow. So they really did a good job here. Okay. All right. Now let's move on and try this watch on. Now I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. I think the watch looks really nice on me, and it would look probably even better on you. And what do I think about the code? Well, the code, at first, as I said, they didn't do that well. But the code, if you look at it itself, it's hard to follow up from a Royal Oak to your next watch. I mean, how do you beat the Royal Oak? Well, the answer is you don't, because it's pretty much the best. But at least you can come in second and do something not bad, or at least pretty good. And they did that with the code that you see here. Okay, and so I think the code it's a fantastic watch. It looks really good. And let me remind you this: the watch retails for $109,000, and we are selling it at Jazz Time for around $60,000. So at least as of 2024. So it's around half. You're getting like a 50% discount. So that it's wow, it's quite a good value proposition. Getting anything 50 off, it's quite nice. So anyways, that's you get quite a big bang for the buck. It's a very beautiful watch. Still has an amazing case, has a very interesting dial, and it looks very casual actually on this rubberized canvas looking strap. Other Perpetual calendars from, for example, like Patek Philippe, they look very classy. While they look very beautiful, they look a little bit, in some ways, too classy, right? We're not always wearing suits and stuff like this. And AP is making their very fancy watches look a little bit more casual. You could easily wear this watch with jeans, t-shirt, or sports coat, something much more casual, khakis, you name it. And it's still going to look fantastic. It'll elevate your watch game, but you'll still be wearing, and it'll still be casual. It will not look very stuffy at all. Okay, so that's my thoughts. And if you'd like to buy this watch, click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.